The bell above the door chimed softly as 8-year-old Lily pushed her way into Henderson's general store. Her backpack hung crooked on one shoulder, and her sneakers squeaked against the worn linoleum floor. The store smelled like old wood and something sweet, maybe the candles displayed near the window. Mr. Robert Henderson looked up from his laptop at the counter. He'd been reviewing stock reports, something he did even here in this small neighborhood store he'd bought 6 months ago. Most people thought it was strange that a man who'd made his fortune investing in tech companies would want to run a little corner store. But Robert had his reasons. "Can I help you, young lady?" he asked, adjusting his reading glasses. Lily walked up to the counter with purpose. She reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a small pink envelope. The envelope was decorated with crayon drawings of flowers and stars, some of them going outside the lines. She placed it carefully on the counter between them. "I want to buy a dad," she said, her voice clear and serious. Robert blinked. In his 47 years of life, in all his business dealings and strange encounters, no one had ever said those words to him. He looked at the little girl standing before him. She had her hair pulled back in 2 ponytails, one slightly higher than the other. Her jacket had a small tear near the pocket, carefully mended with mismatched thread. "I'm sorry, what?" he asked, certain he'd misheard. "A dad," Lily repeated, pushing the envelope closer to him. "I want to buy one. That's my money there." Robert picked up the envelope slowly. It was surprisingly heavy. He opened it and found coins and dollar bills inside, some of them crumpled, others folded into tiny squares. There were quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies. 3 $1 bills. He spread them out on the counter. "How much do you have here?" he asked gently. $4.37, Lily said proudly. "I've been saving for 3 months. I did extra chores and everything. Mrs. Patterson next door gave me 50 cents for watering her plants last week." Robert didn't know what to say. He looked at the money, then at the little girl who was watching him with hopeful brown eyes. "Sweetheart, I don't think you can buy a dad," he said carefully. Lily's face fell a little, but she didn't give up.
"Why not?"
"You can buy lots of things here. I've seen people buy food and tools and stuff. My friend Katie said her mom bought their dog from a shelter for $50. A dad has to cost something, right?" Robert rubbed his forehead. This was definitely not covered in any business school he'd attended. "It's not quite the same thing. Where are your parents? Does your mom or dad know you're here?" "I just have a mom," Lily said matter-of-factly. "She's at work. She's always at work. She has 2 jobs. She works at the hospital during the day and cleans offices at night. Mrs. Patterson watches me after school until Mom gets home." "I see," Robert said quietly. "And your father?" Lily shrugged. "I never met him. Mom says he left before I was born. She doesn't like talking about it. Her eyes get sad when I ask questions." Robert felt something twist in his chest. He sat down on the stool behind the counter. "What made you decide you wanted to buy a dad today?" Lily's face lit up a little. "We had the science fair at school. Everyone brought their projects and their parents came to see them. Katie's dad was there, and Tommy's dad, and Jessica's dad. They all had their dads helping them explain their projects to the judges." She paused, fidgeting with the zipper on her jacket. "My mom couldn't come because she had to work. I stood by my volcano project all by myself. It was a good volcano. I made it from paper mache and it actually erupted with baking soda and vinegar. But no one really stopped to look at it because I was just standing there alone." Robert's throat felt tight. "I'm sure your volcano was wonderful." "It was okay," Lily said. "But then I watched Katie's dad help her set up their solar system model, and he was so proud of her. He kept telling everyone who walked by that his daughter made the whole thing herself. And Tommy's dad brought donuts for everyone at their table." She looked down at her shoes. "I just thought, maybe if I had a dad, things would be different. Maybe I'd have someone to help me with projects. Maybe someone would come to my school stuff. Maybe someone would be proud of me too." Robert felt like someone had reached into his chest and squeezed his heart. This little girl standing in his store with $4.37 trying to solve her loneliness with pocket change. "What's in this envelope besides money?" he asked, noticing some folded papers. "Oh." Lily reached over and pulled out a piece of lined notebook paper. "That's my list. I wrote down what I need." Robert unfolded the paper. The handwriting was careful, the kind that showed someone trying their best to write neatly. At the top it said what I need in a dad, and below that was a list someone. To fix things when they break. Someone to come to school. Events, someone to read bedtime stories. Someone to teach me. Things, someone to make pancakes on. Saturday, someone to scare away bad dreams. Someone to tell me I did a good job. Someone who won't leave. That last line got him. Someone who won't leave. The words were written in slightly darker pencil, as if she'd pressed harder when writing them. Robert cleared his throat. This is a very good list, Lily. Very thorough. I thought about it a lot, she said. I wanted to make sure I knew exactly what I needed before I tried to buy one. My mom always says you should know what you want before you go shopping. Your mom sounds very wise, Robert said. He looked at this little girl who'd walked into his store with such a simple, impossible request. Can I ask you something? Have you told your mom about this? Lily shook her head quickly. No, she'd feel bad. She already feels bad that she has to work so much. I heard her crying on the phone to my Aunt Michelle last month. She said she feels like she's failing me. But she's not failing me. She works really hard. She's just really, really tired all the time. So you're trying to fix this yourself, Robert said softly. Yeah, Lily said. I figured if I could just buy a dad, then Mom wouldn't have to worry so much. She could just keep working, and I'd have someone to do the dad stuff. It would help her, you know? Robert felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. For 3 years, since his daughter Melissa had died from leukemia at age 12, he'd walked through life in a fog. He'd sold his house. He'd left the big city. He'd bought this little store in this quiet neighborhood, thinking maybe a change of scenery would help him feel human again. It hadn't really worked. He came to the store every day. He ordered inventory. He rang up purchases. He smiled at customers, but inside he felt hollow. His wife had left him a year after Melissa died, saying she couldn't be around someone who'd shut down so completely. She was probably right, but now looking at this little girl with her homemade list and her carefully saved money, something flickered inside him. Something that felt almost like purpose. Lily, he said carefully, I can't sell you a dad. That's not how it works. Dads aren't something you can buy in a store. Her face crumpled. Her eyes got shiny with tears she was clearly trying to hold back. But I saved for so long. I thought $4.37 would be enough for something. Hey, Robert said quickly. Wait, let me finish. I can't sell you a dad, but maybe I can help you find what you're looking for. Lily wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. What do you mean? Robert surprised himself with what came out of his mouth next. What if we made an arrangement? A business deal. A business deal. Lily's eyes widened. Yes, Robert said, his mind racing. You have $4.37. That's a respectable amount of money. And you have this list of things you need. What if in exchange for your $4.37 I provided you with those services? Services? Lily looked confused. Help, Robert explained. What if I helped you with things? I could teach you stuff. I could come to school events. We could work on projects together. Not as your dad, because like I said, you can't buy those, but as someone who cares and wants to help. Lily thought about this, her little face serious. Like a helper person? Exactly, Robert said. A mentor. That's someone who teaches you things and helps you learn and grow. We could meet once a week. I could help with homework. We could build things or fix things, and I promised to come to at least one school event every month. Really? Lily's voice was small and hopeful. Really, Robert said, and he meant it. But there are conditions. Conditions? Rules, Robert explained. First, I need to meet your mom and get her permission. This only works if she agrees. Second, you have to promise to keep trying hard in school. And third, you have to understand that this doesn't mean your mom is failing you. Your mom sounds like the hardest working person I've ever heard of. She loves you very much. This is just extra help, okay? Lily nodded eagerly. Okay, I promise. Can we start soon? How about this Saturday? Robert suggested. That gives me time to talk to your mom first. Where do you live? Lily gave him her address. It was only 3 blocks away. Robert wrote it down on a sticky note. Now, he said, we need to make this official. A proper business deal needs a contract. He pulled out a piece of paper and started writing. He made it simple, using words Lily could understand. He wrote down what he would provide and what Lily promised in return. At the bottom, he drew 2 lines for signatures. This is a real contract, he said seriously. When we both sign it, it means we're making a promise to each other. I promise to help you with the things on your list. You promise to work hard and give me a chance, deal?" Lily read the contract carefully, her lips moving slightly as she went through each word. Finally, she looked up at him and smiled. It was the first real smile he'd seen from her since she'd walked in. "Deal," she said. They both signed the contract. Robert's signature was neat and practiced. Lily's was large and slightly wobbly, but she wrote her full name, Lily Ann Morrison. "So what do I do with my money?" Lily asked, looking at the $4.37 still spread on the counter. "That's your payment for services," Robert said. "Our deal. You keep the contract and I keep the payment." He carefully gathered up the coins and bills and put them back in the pink envelope. He placed it in his desk drawer. Then he made a photocopy of the contract and gave the original to Lily. "Keep this safe," he told her. "This is important." Lily folded it carefully and put it in her backpack. "Mr. Henderson, yes?" "Thank you," she said quietly. "I know you said I can't buy a dad, but this feels almost as good." Robert felt his eyes sting. He blinked quickly. "You're welcome, Lily. Now don't you need to get home before your neighbor worries?" "Oh, yeah." Lily glanced at the clock on the wall. "Mrs. Patterson said I could run to the store for 10 minutes. I should go." She headed for the door, then turned back. "Mr. Henderson? I'm really glad I came to your store." "Me too, Lily," Robert said softly. "Me too." The bell chimed as she left, and Robert was alone again in his store. He sat there for a long moment, looking at the pink envelope in his drawer with its crayon decorations and its $4.37. For the first time in 3 years, he felt something other than emptiness. He felt nervous. He felt uncertain. He felt scared he might disappoint this little girl, but most of all, he felt needed. And that, he realized, was something he'd been missing for a very long time. He pulled out his phone and started composing a message to the hospital's main desk. He needed to find Lily's mother. They had a lot to talk about. Outside, the afternoon sun was starting to set, painting the street in warm orange light. And in his little store, surrounded by everyday items and ordinary things, Robert Henderson had just made the most important business deal of his life. It hadn't cost him anything, but it might just save them both. Robert didn't sleep much that night. He kept thinking about the little girl with the pink envelope and her carefully written list. Around 2 in the morning, he got out of bed and went to his home office. He pulled out an old photo album he kept in the bottom drawer of his desk. The pictures showed his daughter, Melissa, at different ages. There she was at 5, missing her front teeth. At 8, holding up a science fair trophy. At 10, laughing at something he'd said. The photos stopped at 12. That's when the leukemia had won. He touched the last photo gently. "I think I'm doing something crazy, Mel," he whispered to the picture. "But I think you'd understand." The next morning, Robert did what he'd never done before. He closed the store. He put up a sign that said "Closed for personal business" and drove the 3 blocks to Lily's apartment building. It was an old brick building, probably built in the 1960s, with a few flowers struggling to grow in the small garden out front. He'd called the hospital and learned that Lily's mother, Jennifer Morrison, worked the day shift in the pediatric wing. He'd explained who he was and asked if they could meet. The nurse who answered had sounded suspicious, but she'd agreed to pass along the message. Now Robert sat in his car, waiting. He'd arrived early, parking across the street where he could see the building entrance. He felt like a creep, honestly. What was he doing? He was a 47-year-old man who'd just made a deal with an 8-year-old girl. When he said it like that in his head, it sounded terrible. But he remembered the hope in Lily's eyes. He remembered her list with that last line, "Someone who won't leave." And he remembered how empty his own life had felt before she'd walked into his store. At 5:15, he saw a woman in scrubs walking toward the building. She looked exhausted, her shoulders slumped, her steps slow. She was carrying 2 grocery bags and had a purse slung over her shoulder. This had to be her. Robert got out of his car quickly. "Excuse me, Ms. Morrison?" The woman stopped and turned. She was younger than he'd expected, probably in her early 30s. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and there were dark circles under her eyes. When she saw him approaching, her whole body tensed. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice cautious. "My name is Robert Henderson. I own the general store on Miller Street. I called the hospital earlier. I need to talk to you about your daughter." Jennifer's face went pale. "Is Lily okay? What happened?" She's fine. She's fine, Robert said quickly, holding up his hands. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. She's not hurt or anything. I just need to talk to you about something she did yesterday. Jennifer's fear turned to confusion, then to suspicion. What did she do? And why are you at my home? Can we talk? Maybe inside. I promise I'm not here to cause problems. Actually, I think I can help. Jennifer studied him for a long moment. Robert could see her trying to decide if he was dangerous, if she should call someone, if she should just walk away. Finally, she sighed. You have 10 minutes, she said, and we're talking in the lobby where Mrs. Patterson can see us through her door. She's our neighbor and she watches Lily. If you try anything weird, she'll call the police in 2 seconds. That's perfectly fair, Robert said. They went into the building lobby. It was small, with a few plastic chairs and a table covered in junk mail. Jennifer set down her grocery bags and sat in one chair. Robert sat across from her, leaving plenty of space between them. So what's this about? Jennifer asked. Robert pulled out the pink envelope. Your daughter came to my store yesterday after school. She brought this with her. Jennifer took the envelope and opened it. She saw the money in the list. As she read, her face changed. First confusion, then understanding, then pain. Oh, Lily, she whispered. Her eyes filled with tears. Oh, baby girl. She seems like a wonderful kid, Robert said gently. Jennifer wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She is. She's the best thing in my life. And I'm failing her. That's not what I see, Robert said. I see a mother working 2 jobs to provide for her daughter. I see a kid who's healthy and clean and polite and clearly loved. But she wants a dad so badly that she tried to buy one with her allowance money, Jennifer said, her voice breaking. What kind of mother am I? I can't even give her the one thing she needs. You can't give her something you don't have, Robert said. You're doing everything you can. But maybe I can help with what you can't do. Jennifer looked up at him suspiciously. What do you mean? Robert explained everything. The conversation with Lily, the list, the deal they'd made, the contract they'd signed. As he talked, Jennifer's expression changed from suspicious to confused to something he couldn't quite read. Let me get this straight, she said slowly. You want to spend time with my daughter? A man I've never met wants to take my 8-year-old child somewhere once a week. When she said it like that, Robert understood how bad it sounded. I know how this looks. I really do. But I'm not some creep. I just want to help. Why? Jennifer asked bluntly. Why would you want to help a kid you don't even know? Robert was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled out his phone and showed her a picture of Melissa. This was my daughter. Her name was Melissa. She died 3 years ago. She was 12. Jennifer's expression softened. I'm so sorry. After she died, I kind of stopped living, Robert said. I went through the motions, but nothing felt real. Nothing felt like it mattered. Then your daughter walked into my store yesterday and asked me something impossible. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt like maybe I could do something good. Something that mattered. He put his phone away. I'm not trying to replace anyone. I'm not trying to be her father. I just want to help. I want to teach her things. I want to show up for school events. I want to be someone she can count on. And honestly, I think she might be helping me just as much as I'm helping her. Jennifer stared at him for a long moment. This is crazy. I know. I don't know you. You could be anyone. I know. My daughter is the most precious thing in the world to me. I understand. Jennifer stood up and paced the small lobby. Robert stayed quiet, letting her think. Finally, she turned back to him. What do you do? Besides own a store? I'm an investor, Robert said. I made good money in tech investments. I bought the store as a retirement project. Something to keep me busy. So you have money, Jennifer said, yes. And you live where? Robert gave her his address. It was in a nice neighborhood not far from here. He also gave her his phone number, his email, and told her she could look him up online. He'd been featured in a few business magazines over the years. I want to run a background check, Jennifer said. Absolutely, Robert agreed. I expected that. And if we do this, it's on my terms. You meet with her in public places at first. I need to know where you are at all times. And if at any point I feel uncomfortable, it stops. Immediately. Of course. Jennifer sat back down. Can I ask you something? And I want the truth. Anything. Are you lonely? She asked quietly. The question caught Robert off guard. Yes, he admitted. Very lonely. Me too, Jennifer said. I'm so tired and so lonely, and I feel guilty every single day that I can't give Lily more. When she goes to bed at night, I lie in my room and cry because I missed another school event or forgot to help her with a project or was too exhausted to read her a story. Her voice cracked. I love her so much. So much it hurts. But I'm one person trying to do the job of two, and I'm drowning. You're not drowning, Robert said. You're surviving. That's different. And there's no shame in accepting help. Jennifer laughed, but it sounded sad. Pride is a funny thing. Part of me wants to tell you to leave and never come back, that I can handle this myself. But the truth is I can't. I'm barely keeping my head above water. So let me help, Robert said. Please. Jennifer looked at the pink envelope again. At the $4.37 that her daughter had saved. At the list written in Lily's careful handwriting. If we do this, she said slowly, I need to set some rules. Okay. You never take her anywhere without telling me first. You never give her expensive gifts that I can't match. You don't make promises you can't keep. And you don't disappear on her. If you're going to do this, you have to commit. Because if you leave, it'll break her heart. And I can't watch my daughter's heart break again. Again? Robert asked gently. Jennifer's jaw tightened. Her father left before she was born. Just disappeared. Didn't even leave a note. Lily asks about him sometimes, and I never know what to say. How do you explain to a child that the person who's supposed to love them chose not to? You can't, Robert said quietly. There's no good explanation for that. Exactly, Jennifer said. So if you're going to be in her life, you stay in her life. You don't get to leave when it's hard or when you're bored or when you remember you have better things to do. I won't leave, Robert promised. I know what it's like to lose someone. I would never do that to her on purpose. Jennifer studied his face for a long time. Then she nodded slowly. Okay, we can try this, but I'm watching you like a hawk. I'd be disappointed if you didn't, Robert said. They exchanged phone numbers. Jennifer told him about Lily's school schedule, her favorite things, her allergies, peanuts, and her tendency to talk nonstop when she was nervous. Robert listened carefully, taking mental notes. When do you want to start? Jennifer asked. I told Lily this Saturday, Robert said. If that works for you? What did you have in mind? I thought maybe I could teach her some basic home repair, Robert said. You mentioned that your sink in the bathroom has been leaky. I could show her how to fix it. Then maybe we could grab lunch. Jennifer hesitated. The sink thing is helpful. But lunch, in a public place, Robert added quickly. Somewhere you choose. Somewhere you feel comfortable. There's a diner 2 blocks from here, Jennifer said. They know us there. Betty, the owner, she's friends with Mrs. Patterson. Perfect, Robert said. How about I come here at 10? We fix the sink, then lunch at the diner? I'll be here the whole time, Jennifer warned. Good, Robert said. You should be, they stood up. Jennifer picked up her grocery bags. Mr. Henderson? Robert, please. Robert, Jennifer corrected. Thank you, I think. I'm still not sure this isn't completely insane. But thank you for caring about my daughter. Thank you for trusting me, Robert said. I know that's not easy. As Jennifer walked toward the stairs, Robert called out, Ms. Morrison? She turned back. You're a good mother, he said. I mean that. Lily's lucky to have you. Jennifer's eyes got wet again. She nodded once, then disappeared up the stairs. Robert walked back to his car feeling lighter than he had in years. He also felt terrified. What if he messed this up? What if he said the wrong thing or did something that hurt Lily instead of helped her? What if he wasn't good at this anymore? But then he remembered Lily's smile when they'd signed the contract. He remembered the hope in her eyes, and he thought about his daughter, Melissa, and how she'd always wanted him to be happier. Okay, Mel, he said to the air. I'm going to try. I'm really going to try. Saturday morning, Robert arrived at the apartment building at exactly 10 o'clock. He brought a toolbox and a bag from the hardware store. Inside were a new faucet washer, some plumber's tape, and a child-sized pair of work gloves he'd found in the kids section. When Jennifer opened the door, Lily was standing behind her, bouncing on her toes with excitement. Mr. Henderson, you came, you really came. Of course I came, Robert said. We have a contract, remember? Lily grinned so wide he thought her face might split in half. Jennifer watched them with careful eyes, but she stepped aside to let him in. The apartment was small but clean. There were pictures on the walls, mostly of Lily at different ages. The furniture was old but well maintained. Robert could see the signs of a home where someone worked hard to make things nice despite not having much money. Okay, Robert said, setting down his toolbox. Ready to learn how to fix a sink? Yes, Lily said. They went to the small bathroom. Robert showed Lily the tools they'd need. He explained what each one was called and what it did. Lily listened with intense concentration, asking questions when she didn't understand something. Jennifer watched from the doorway, her arms crossed. But as the morning went on, Robert noticed her posture relaxing slightly. He was patient with Lily. He never talked down to her. He let her try things herself, guiding her hands when she needed help. When the sink was fixed, Lily turned the faucet on and off 3 times, checking for leaks. "We did it," she said proudly. "You did most of it," Robert said. "I just supervised. They cleaned up the tools together." Then Robert showed Lily how to properly organize a toolbox, explaining why it mattered to keep things neat. At noon, they walked to the diner. Jennifer came with them, staying close. At the diner, Betty, the owner, came over immediately. "Hey there, Jennifer. And little Lily." "Who's your friend?" Jennifer introduced Robert carefully. Betty's eyes were sharp and assessing, but when Robert shook her hand politely and ordered the daily special without fuss, she seemed to relax a bit. Over burgers and fries, Lily told Robert about school. She talked about her favorite subject, science, her least favorite subject, spelling, and her best friend, a girl named Katie who had a pet hamster. She barely stopped talking long enough to eat. Robert listened to everything. He asked questions. He laughed at her jokes, and for the first time since Melissa died, he felt something like joy. Jennifer watched it all, still cautious, still careful, but there was something in her eyes that looked like relief. Like maybe, just maybe, she wasn't completely alone anymore. When they walked back to the apartment, Lily held the toolbox proudly. "Can I keep the gloves?" she asked. "They're yours," Robert said. "A proper worker needs proper equipment." At the apartment door, Lily surprised him by hugging him quickly. Then she ran inside, calling back, "See you next week." Jennifer stayed outside with Robert. "That went well," she said quietly. "I think so," Robert agreed. "She's already talking about what you can teach her next week. She wants to learn how to build something." Robert smiled. "I can do that." Jennifer looked at him seriously. "You made her really happy today." "Thank you." "She made me happy too," Robert said honestly. As he walked back to his car, Robert felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. He felt useful. He felt needed. He felt like maybe, just maybe, life was worth living again. And in that small apartment, Lily Morrison showed her mother the work gloves for the 5th time, talking excitedly about everything she'd learned. "Mom," she said finally. "Yes, honey?" "I'm glad Mr. Henderson is my mentor. He's really nice." Jennifer hugged her daughter close. "Yeah, baby. I think he is." That night, after Lily went to bed, Jennifer sat in her small kitchen and cried. But for the first time in a long time, they weren't sad tears. They were grateful ones. The first few weeks were awkward. Robert showed up every Saturday at exactly 10 o'clock, always bringing his toolbox and a plan for what they'd do that day. Lily was excited every single time, but Robert felt like he was walking on ice, constantly afraid he'd say or do the wrong thing. The second Saturday, he tried to teach Lily about the stock market. He'd brought charts and graphs thinking it would be educational. Lily stared at the papers with a polite smile, clearly having no idea what any of it meant. After 20 minutes of explaining compound interest to an 8-year-old, Robert finally noticed her eyes glazing over. "This is boring, isn't it?" he asked. Lily bit her lip. "Kind of, I'm sorry. I'm trying to pay attention." Robert laughed, actually laughed, for the first time in forever. "No, I'm sorry. This is what I do all day, but it's not exactly fun for a kid. What would you rather do? Can we build something?" Lily asked hopefully. "You said maybe we could build something." So they built a birdhouse. Robert had to run to the hardware store twice because he'd forgotten how much wood they'd need. But by the end of the day, they had a slightly crooked but functional birdhouse. Lily painted it bright purple with yellow polka dots. "The birds are going to love it," she declared. "It's definitely unique," Robert agreed, looking at their creation with a mix of pride and amusement. They hung it on a tree outside the apartment building. Mrs. Patterson came out to see it and told Lily it was the prettiest birdhouse she'd ever seen. Lily beamed. By the 3rd week, things started to feel more natural. Robert learned that Lily loved asking questions, lots of questions, about everything. Why was the sky blue? How did electricity work? What happened to the dinosaurs? Robert found himself researching things he'd never thought about before, just so he could give her good answers. He also learned that Lily was terrible at sitting still. If he wanted to teach her something, he had to make it active. So when she needed help with her multiplication tables, they turned it into a game where she had to hop on one foot while answering. She learned her 7 times tables that way, giggling the whole time. Jennifer watched all of this, always present but starting to relax a little more. She still never left them completely alone, but she stopped hovering quite so close. Sometimes, she'd sit in the living room reading while Robert and Lily worked on projects in the kitchen. One Saturday, about 6 weeks into their arrangement, Robert noticed Lily seemed quieter than usual. "Everything okay?" he asked as they worked on fixing a wobbly table leg. "Yeah," Lily said, but she didn't sound convincing. "You know, part of our deal is honesty," Robert said gently. "If something's bothering you, you can tell me." Lily was quiet for a moment, focusing very hard on the screwdriver in her hand. Finally, she said, "There's a school thing next Friday." "What kind of school thing?" "It's the winter concert. I'm singing in the chorus." "But Mom has to work. She tried to get the night off, but someone called in sick for the late shift and they need her to cover." Robert's heart sank. He remembered this feeling. He remembered missing Melissa's events because of work and the guilt that came with it. "That's tough." "It's okay," Lily said quickly. "I know she has to work. I'm not mad at her." "But you're still disappointed." Lily nodded, her eyes getting shiny. "All the other kids will have someone there. Katie's whole family is coming. Her mom, her dad, even her grandma. And I'll just be standing there alone again." Robert set down his tools. "What if I came?" Lily looked up at him, hope and uncertainty mixed on her face. "Really? You'd want to come?" "Of course I would. That's part of our deal, remember? I promised to come to school events. If your mom says it's okay, I'll be there." "Front row?" Lily asked. "Front row," Robert confirmed. "I'll be the one clapping the loudest, probably embarrassing you." Lily laughed, wiping her eyes. "You can't embarrass me. I'm going to be so happy you're there." That evening, Robert talked to Jennifer about it. She was getting ready for her night shift, moving around the small apartment with practiced efficiency. "The winter concert," she said, her face falling. "I hate that I'm missing it. I tried everything to get that night off." "I know you did," Robert said. "And Lily knows it too. She's not angry with you. But she's disappointed." "A little," Robert admitted. "But she understands. She's a smart kid." Jennifer sat down at the kitchen table, suddenly looking exhausted. "Sometimes I wonder if understanding makes it worse. She never complains. She just accepts that this is how things are. And I hate it." "She accepts it because she knows you love her," Robert said, "and because she sees how hard you work. But if it helps, I'd really like to go to the concert. If you're comfortable with that." Jennifer looked at him for a long moment. Over the past weeks, her initial suspicion had slowly transformed into something else. Not quite friendship, but maybe the beginning of trust. "You really don't mind?" she asked. "I want to go," Robert said honestly. "She's been practicing her songs for me. She's really excited about it." "Okay," Jennifer said. "Thank you, really. I don't know what we did to deserve your help, but I'm grateful for it." The night of the winter concert, Robert arrived at the school early. The auditorium was already filling up with families. He found a seat in the front row just as he'd promised Lily. He felt out of place among all the parents and grandparents, but he stayed anyway. When the children filed onto the stage, Robert spotted Lily immediately. She was wearing a white shirt and black pants, her hair pulled back neatly. Her eyes scanned the audience, and when she saw him in the front row, her whole face lit up. She waved, a small excited wave, before remembering she was supposed to stand still. The concert was exactly what you'd expect from an elementary school performance. Some kids forgot the words. A few were clearly just mouthing along without actually singing. One boy in the back row was more interested in picking his nose than performing. But to Robert it was perfect. When Lily's class sang Silent Night, he felt tears in his eyes. He remembered Melissa's concerts, how he'd sat in audiences just like this one, watching his daughter sing. He'd taken it for granted back then, assumed there would always be more concerts, more moments. He'd been wrong, but here he was now, getting a second chance. Not to replace what he'd lost, but to be present for someone else who needed him. It felt like a gift he didn't deserve. After the concert, Lily ran down from the stage and hugged him. "You came. You really came," she said, even though she'd known he would. "Of course I did. And you were amazing. Best singer up there." "I wasn't really," Lily said, but she was grinning. "I forgot some of the words in the second song." "I didn't notice," Robert lied, and they both laughed. Katie came over with her parents and grandmother. She introduced Robert as Lily's friend who teaches her stuff. Katie's parents were friendly but clearly curious about who this man was. Robert kept the explanation simple and polite, and they seemed satisfied. As they walked out of the school, Lily held Robert's hand. It was the first time she'd done that, and Robert felt his chest tighten with emotion. "Can we get ice cream?" Lily asked. "Mom always says we can have ice cream after special occasions. Did she say it was okay for tonight?" "She said if you wanted to, we could. She gave me money." Lily pulled a crumpled $5 bill from her pocket. "Put that away," Robert said. "I've got this one." They went to the ice cream shop near the apartment. It was a small place, family-owned, with pictures of regular customers on the walls. The owner, a man named Tony, knew Lily by name. "The usual?" he asked her. "Yes, please. Chocolate with rainbow sprinkles." They sat in a booth by the window. Lily swung her legs under the table, too short to reach the ground, and ate her ice cream with intense concentration. "Mr. Henderson," she said after a while. "Yeah? Do you have kids?" The question caught Robert off guard. Jennifer had told Lily about Melissa, but maybe Lily had forgotten or hadn't really understood. "I had a daughter," he said carefully. "She died a few years ago." "Oh," Lily said softly. She was quiet for a moment, thinking. "Was she nice?" "She was wonderful. Smart and funny and kind. A lot like you, actually." "Really?" "Really. She asked a million questions about everything, just like you do. And she loved to build things and figure out how stuff worked." Lily thought about this while eating her ice cream. Then she said, "I bet she misses you." Robert's throat got tight. "I hope so. I miss her every day." "That's how I feel about my dad," Lily said matter-of-factly. "Even though I never met him, is that weird?" "No," Robert said. "It's not weird at all. You can miss something you never had." "Do you think," Lily said slowly, choosing her words carefully, "that your daughter would be okay with you helping me? Or would she be sad that you're spending time with someone else?" Robert had to take a moment before he could answer. "I think Melissa would be really happy about it. She always wanted me to be less grumpy and more fun. And being with you makes me both of those things." Lily smiled. "Good, because I really like our Saturdays." "Me too, kiddo. Me too." After ice cream, Robert walked Lily home. Jennifer was already there, having gotten home from her day shift. She was still in her scrubs, heating up dinner. "Mom! Mom! I sang so good." Lily burst through the door with her news. "You sang so well," Jennifer corrected automatically, but she was smiling. "Tell me everything." While Lily recounted the entire concert in minute detail, Robert stood by the door ready to leave. But Jennifer caught his eye and mouthed, "Thank you." He nodded, feeling like he was part of something important, something bigger than himself. Over the next few weeks, their routine continued. Every Saturday, Robert would arrive with a plan. They built a bookshelf for Lily's room. They learned about basic first aid. They made homemade pizza from scratch, which turned out surprisingly good. They planted herbs in small pots for the windowsill. The store's regular customers started noticing changes in Robert. Mrs. Chen, who came in every Wednesday for her groceries, told him he seemed happier. Old Mr. Davis said Robert smiled more now. Even Betty from the diner mentioned that he looked like a different person. and he felt like a different person. For 3 years, he'd been going through the motions of living without actually feeling alive. But now, he had something to look forward to. He'd start planning his Saturday with Lily by Tuesday. He'd think about what he could teach her, what they could build together, what would make her laugh. One Saturday afternoon, they were working on a science project about volcanoes. Lily was carefully mixing baking soda and vinegar, watching the chemical reaction with fascination. "This is so cool," she said. "It's like magic, but it's science." "That's the best kind of magic," Robert agreed. Jennifer was sitting at the kitchen table, paying bills. Robert noticed how tired she looked. The stack of envelopes in front of her, the way she rubbed her temples. "You okay?" he asked quietly while Lily was distracted with her volcano. "Just the usual," Jennifer said, trying to figure out how to make one paycheck stretch far enough. "The car needs new tires and Lily needs new winter boots. She's growing so fast." "Let me help," Robert said. "No," Jennifer said immediately. "You already do so much. I want to help. And I appreciate that, but we're not a charity case." Her voice was firm but not angry. "You're already giving us your time. That's more valuable than money." Robert wanted to argue, but he respected her boundary. "Okay, but if there's ever something you need, you can ask. Please know that." Jennifer's expression softened. "I do know that. And that means a lot." As the weeks passed, something shifted. The arrangement that had started as a business deal, a contract signed by a desperate little girl and a lonely man, was becoming something else. It was becoming real. Lily started calling Robert Mr. Robert instead of Mr. Henderson. It was a small change, but it felt significant. She'd run to the door when he arrived, excited to show him whatever she'd been working on during the week. She'd save her questions for him, writing them down in a notebook so she wouldn't forget. And Robert found himself thinking about Lily during the week too. He'd see something at the store and think, Lily would love this. He'd read an article about science experiments and save it for their next Saturday. He'd catch himself smiling at random times, remembering something funny she'd said. Mrs. Patterson, the neighbor who watched Lily after school, told Jennifer that Lily talked about Mr. Robert constantly. "She tells all the other kids about the things they build together," Mrs. Patterson said. "Last week she taught them all how to fix a loose screw. She was so proud." Jennifer listened to all of this with mixed feelings. She was grateful, so grateful that her daughter had someone else in her life who cared about her. But there was a small part of her, a part she wasn't proud of, that felt threatened. What if Lily started loving Robert more than her? What if she became just the tired mom who was always working, while Robert got to be the fun one who taught her cool things? One evening, after a particularly long day at work, Jennifer came home to find Lily drawing pictures at the kitchen table. "What are you drawing, baby?" Jennifer asked. "My family," Lily said. Jennifer's heart clenched. She looked at the drawing. There was a woman labeled Mom, a girl labeled Me, and then a figure labeled Mr. Robert. "That's a nice picture," Jennifer said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm giving it to Mr. Robert tomorrow," Lily said. "Well, not tomorrow. Next Saturday. I want him to put it in his store." Jennifer sat down next to her daughter. "Lily, can I ask you something?" "Sure. How do you feel about Mr. Robert?" Lily thought about it. "I like him a lot. He teaches me really cool stuff. And he never acts like I'm annoying when I ask questions." "You're not annoying," Jennifer said softly. "I know," Lily said simply. "But sometimes adults act like kids are annoying even when they say we're not. Mr. Robert never does that. He actually listens." "What about me?" Jennifer asked, hating how vulnerable she sounded. "Do I listen?" Lily looked at her mom with those wise 8-year-old eyes. "You listen when you're here. But you're tired a lot." "It's okay, Mom. I know you work really hard for us." Jennifer pulled Lily into a hug, fighting back tears. "I love you so much, baby." "I love you too, Mom. The most in the whole world." That night after Lily went to bed, Jennifer stood in her daughter's doorway and watched her sleep. The birdhouse she and Robert had built was visible through the window, illuminated by the streetlight. The bookshelf they'd built together held Lily's growing collection of books. The herbs they'd planted were thriving on the windowsill. Robert Henderson had walked into their lives 2 months ago, responding to the impossible request of a child who wanted to buy a father. And somehow, without either of them quite planning it, he'd become part of their family. Jennifer wasn't sure how she felt about that yet. Grateful, yes. Relieved, absolutely. But also scared. Because if Lily got too attached and something happened, if Robert decided this was too much or found something better to do with his time, her daughter would be devastated, and Jennifer wasn't sure she could protect Lily from that kind of hurt. These thoughts kept her awake long into the night. Even as she heard the words Lily had said earlier, "He actually listens." Maybe, Jennifer thought, that was enough for now. Maybe she could trust this a little longer. But in the back of her mind, there was still that fear, that waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because in Jennifer's experience, good things didn't last. And people always left eventually. 3 months into their Saturday routine, the announcement came home in Lily's backpack. Jennifer found it while checking for homework. A bright yellow flyer about the annual father-daughter dance at Lily's school. Jennifer stared at the paper for a long moment. These events always hurt. Last year, Lily had asked if they could skip it, her voice small and trying so hard to sound like she didn't care. They'd stayed home and watched movies instead, and Jennifer had cried in the bathroom while Lily was asleep. "Hey, Mom, did you see the paper about the dance?" Lily appeared in the doorway, her voice careful. "I see it," Jennifer said. "Katie asked if I'm going this year." Lily picked at the edge of her shirt. "I said I'd think about it." Jennifer's heart broke a little more. "Baby, you don't have to go if you don't want to." "But what if I do want to?" Lily asked quietly. "What if I ask Mr. Robert?" There it was. The question Jennifer had been dreading. She looked at her daughter's hopeful face and felt torn in 2 directions. Part of her wanted to say no, to protect Lily from getting too attached, from having people at school see this arrangement and ask questions. But the bigger part of her couldn't stand to see Lily miss out on something that clearly meant so much to her. "You really want to go?" Jennifer asked. Lily nodded. "All my friends are going, and it sounds fun. There's dancing and pizza and games. I just don't want to be the only one there without a dad." "Mr. Robert isn't your dad, sweetheart." "I know," Lily said, "but he's someone who cares about me. That's kind of the same thing, right?" Jennifer pulled Lily into a hug. "Yeah, baby, that is kind of the same thing. If you want to ask him, you can." That Saturday, Lily practically bounced when Robert arrived. She barely let him get through the door before shoving the yellow flyer at him. "There's a dance at school, a father-daughter dance, and I want to go, but I don't have a dad, but you're kind of like a dad, except not really, but you care about me and you promise to come to school events. And I really, really want to go, and Katie is going, and I don't want to be left out again." The words tumbled out so fast that Robert had to ask her to repeat herself. When he finally understood what she was asking, he looked over at Jennifer, who was standing in the kitchen doorway. "Is this okay with you?" he asked Jennifer directly. Jennifer hesitated. That hesitation lasted only a second, but Robert saw it. He saw the fear in her eyes, the uncertainty. But then she nodded. "If you're willing," Jennifer said. "Lily would really like to go." "Then I'd be honored," Robert said, looking back at Lily. "But I have to warn you, I'm a terrible dancer." "That's okay," Lily said, jumping up and down. "I'm not very good either. We can be terrible together." The dance was 3 weeks away. In that time, Lily talked about it constantly. She picked out a dress with her mom, a blue one with sparkles that she insisted on showing Robert the next Saturday. She practiced her dancing in the living room. She made a list of all the games she wanted to play. But as the dance got closer, Jennifer's anxiety grew. She talked to her sister on the phone late one night, keeping her voice low so Lily wouldn't hear. "I don't know, Rachel. What if this is too much? What if people at school start asking questions?" "What kind of questions?" her sister asked. "About who he is, about our arrangement. What if Lily starts calling him Dad? What if she gets so attached that she can't handle it when this ends?" "When it ends," Rachel said. "Why are you so sure it's going to end?" "Because things like this don't last," Jennifer said. "People get tired. They move on. They realize they have better things to do than spend time with someone else's kid." "Jen, has Robert given you any reason to think he's going to leave?" "No," Jennifer admitted. "But he will eventually. They always do." Rachel was quiet for a moment. "You're talking about Lily's father." "I'm talking about everyone. Dad left, Lily's father left, my ex-boyfriend left. People leave, Rachel. That's what they do." "Not everyone," Rachel said gently. "Some people stay. Maybe Robert is one of those people. And if he's not? If he disappears and breaks Lily's heart? How do I fix that?" You can't protect her from everything, Rachel said. Sometimes you have to let people take risks. Even little people, Jennifer wanted to argue, but she was too tired. She ended the call and sat in her dark living room, worrying about things that hadn't happened yet. 2 days before the dance, Jennifer confronted Robert at the store. She'd left work early and asked Mrs. Patterson to watch Lily for an extra hour. She needed to say this without her daughter present. Robert was restocking shelves when she walked in.